Hello everybody, I'm back with another, card analysis for Crimson Curse cards which have been announced. There have been 7 more, so I want to jump into all of those today, have a little bit of a look, give some thoughts, impressions, analysis like I have been doing for all of the cards so far. So let's get into it as we always do. Here, first card is going to be Undying Thirst. I missed this one a couple of days ago. I was going to cover it, but it hadn't been revealed when I was recording the video. Anyway, this is a neutral 4 provision special card, and it gives an enemy unit bleeding for 6 turns. Nothing too crazy, just a bit of a kind of a filler special card, I suppose. It's pretty much like Feast of Blood, which is a monster card, but without the purification if you control a vampire condition. I'm not really sure how to feel about the bleeding cards. In theory, they can be quite good and get you a large amount of points, but in reality, you do need to, be in quite a long round, have quite a tall unit to hit with it, and not run into any status removal. So I don't think I see it being particularly good, and Undying Thirst I don't think would be great. It's just a bit too conditional. You need a 6-point unit on the board and then a 6-turn round to get the full value from it. I just don't see that happening very often, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, maybe if you're playing like a Skellige deck with great swords and wanting to proc those multiple times, then maybe you'd run this, but apart from that, I don't see it having any use, and I don't think it would be particularly good even in that style of greatsword deck. Like, I don't think that deck would be particularly good, should I say. So yeah, not a particularly powerful card, one of those kind of filler specials, I think. Don't think it will be played, not too strong, whatever. Let's move on to the next one that we've been shown. Next one is Sangro. This is a 7 provision neutral special card, and it boosts a unit by 6 and gives it a shield. So even more shield synergy. We've already seen quite a lot in the game, especially in Northern Realms. We've got Watchman as well, which is a neutral shield giving card. Sangro is another one. It seems like CDPR are really trying to push that sort of archetype in Northern Realms, and it has, some potential in other factions as well if you want to, protect your engines, protect that really important finisher card maybe that needs to survive. But Sangro here, you have to already have a unit on the board that you want to shield up, so that sort of purpose that the Watchman fills with the order effect, not really relevant with the sort of needing a unit already on the board to have this work. It also plays really hard into tool removal and boost removal, stuff like Peter, right, or Spores, so I'm not sure I see this being good. You're going to make a really tall unit, probably, and I guess in many ways you could protect those points with the shield from damage. Maybe you have a low strength unit, you boost it up, and you have some kind of quote-unquote safe points in the same way that you might play a Synthesis for safe points. Or sorry, is it called Synthesis? Yeah, whatever. Saskia, the dragon, the 8 strength one in Scoia'tael, you know what I mean. But yeah, I just don't see the immediate boost and shield being very good. I don't see that being a thing that people play. Maybe in Northern Realms where you're already trying to do a lot of shielding and maybe even boosting, could see play there, but I find it a bit unlikely. Then again, if you're not worried about tool removal, it seems quite fairly costed. Maybe you get 1 or 2 value from the shield and it's just like a 7 for 7 or an 8 for 7 or something. But I think just because it plays into all sorts of stuff, I don't think it would be particularly played. We'll see though, it's possible. It is possible, and it kind of maybe helps with, I don't know, there are some cards that like to get boosted, things like the Mahakam, Defenders or whatever, a Glace, whatever. I don't know, I don't think it will be a better alternative to like Garrison or whatever in combo decks, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, let's go to the next card. We now have Viviane Oreo, and this is a neutral card for 10 provisions. It is 1 strength with the deploy effect of destroy an enemy artifact and boost self by its cost, provision cost that is. So you're looking at 10 provisions for this effect. For this to be good, what do you have to be destroying? I mean, obviously it's a very high risk, high reward card. Like 1 point for 10 provisions is terrible. Even worse than Demetrian Bomb, pretty much. Which already isn't played apart from in Skellige, where you can get rid of it very easily. That being said, you don't want to discard a 10 provision card. That feels terrible, just to have that be one of your worst cards in hand. 10 provisions is a hell of a lot, in a lot of decks. So Don't think this would see play in any way in the current game. The question is, will it see play in the expansion? You know, there's a few artifacts that are pretty good, like this one here, for example, is the Hengate Sword. I think it's 9 provisions, right? So if everyone is playing this card, then Viviane, okay, she's a 10 for 10 if she kills that. Okay, sure. I can imagine maybe with more artifacts that are very high provision cost, that are like very strong. If everyone's going around playing like 10 provision cost artifacts, then maybe Viviane could have a spot in a deck. I just don't see it because the risk reward is very, very large on it. Like, even in a meta where everyone was playing, you know, a 10 provision, 11 provision, whatever, artifact, like almost everyone in their deck had it, you still would have to draw the Viviane at the same time they'd play that artifact to actually get her value, otherwise she's a 1-point card. And then, you know, that's never really going to be the case in any meta. There'll be decks that don't play that artifact or artifacts which are, you know, very high provision cost, so I just don't see getting her I don't see her getting the value. Like right now, what artifacts could you destroy? Tainted Ale maybe in like a couple of decks. Most people aren't running that. You could maybe destroy, I don't know, a Thunderbolt Potion in some niche matchups, or Summoning Circle in some niche matchups. But why would you ever bother with this when you could just play like a Frenzied Dow or some smaller artifact removal, Ida, or Bomb Heaver or whatever it might be? May as well just play that. It's a lot less riskier. You're going to get more points even if it doesn't work. Viviane seems very risky. Kind of similar design to like Roach Merciless back in the day, I guess. It's like either terrible or potentially very, very good. Not a huge fan of that design myself. I think it's a bit too binary and it means the card never really sees play because, well, if you're completely hitting or missing, then on average you're not really going to be, you know, getting the value that you need, I think. So, I don't know. Don't really know what to say about this card. I don't think it's going to be played at all, but maybe if we have really artifact-heavy meta, which I wouldn't be a fan of either, in the expansion, then she might be playable. Or maybe there'll be some really auto-include artifacts that make her playable. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. Anyway, let's get on to the next card, shall we? So the next one is Fisher King. This is a 4 strength, 7 provision neutral, and you deploy it on ranged, and you're able to put a card from your deck to the top. Any card. So this is kind of like an Albric, for neutral, and 1 less point if you're moving a unit, 1 more point if you're moving an artifact or a special card or whatever. Not much to say about this one. Seems like it will help. Actually, I mean, there's a little bit to say. It will help combo decks, you know, things that are wanting to maybe do some kind of Petrie's filter into, you know, some unit like Vatier or Regis or whatever it might be. You're able to get those kind of combos off more of the time, I suppose, with this effect. Albric is a Nilfgaard and you don't see like those kind of combos being too prevalent, so I'd be surprised if this made stuff like that very good. Usually the problem with those combos is not that you don't find the combo, it's that the combo, when it even works, isn't that amazing and is very easy to you know, be bled from you or not find the proper value. It's too high provision costed in a deck, whatever it might be. A little bit gimmicky, so I don't see the combo aspect of this card really working. It could be good, I suppose, with, what's that card in Skellige? Like Demon Smuggler, is it? The guy that discards a card from the top of your deck. In theory, you could play Fisher King, move something up to the top of the deck, and then discard it with that card. That might be an interaction that we see. 7 provisions for this, though, is kind of expensive. I suppose, yeah, that might be playable with something like Morkvarg, or you know, just putting a bad card to the top and discarding it, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Kind of, yeah, it might be a good card, but it doesn't seem too assuming. Bit of an unassuming card, should we say. Yeah, doesn't seem like it would be that strong, but maybe it will shine in a deck or two. Impossible to tell. Worth noting that it does, you know, buff Nilfgaard a little bit. I saw some people saying this on Reddit. If you know, play this in your deck, then Nilfgaard's removal of your deck, things like Traherne, Viper Witcher, Cantarella, stuff like that, all become a bit stronger, so it's kind of like a hidden buff to Nilfgaard if that card is ever played. Don't think it really will be, personally, but who knows, maybe. Alright, up next we have Gregoire the Gorgon, and this guy is a neutral 9 provision card, 4 strength with deploy melee, damage an enemy unit by 1 and death blow, boost self by 6 and gain a shield. So he becomes an 11 for 9 with a shield if he kills an enemy unit for 1. If you don't, then obviously this card is 5 for 9, which is pretty terrible. So you're going to play this in a deck which can definitely, set up 1 strength units, maybe Ithne, Beruva, like a lot of decks are able to do that. Crack, a lot of leaders and a lot of archetypes. I'm sure most decks will have a lot of removal in them anyway, because removal is kind of undercosted at the moment, and from what we've seen in the expansion, a bit undercosted there as well. So I'd imagine this card would be kind of prevalent actually. It seems pretty good. The fact that you get the shield as well is just nice. You're not taking big hits to things like from things like Chironex. Yeah, you're going to be susceptible to tool removal, but if you're playing a deck that already has maybe a few big units, then I think you'd be happy to throw this in. Maybe not if you're running like a Scoia'tael deck that's dodging the Leos and the Peters and whatever else is being thrown at you, but potentially in some other deck, maybe monsters or whatever, where you're already playing spear tip and big guys, having another large body is less risky, and you can definitely get your value from this card if you're able to set up a 1 strength unit. Seems pretty strong. Another card with shield, so I guess King Rogner is getting a bit more value in theory. If this card is ever prevalent, then maybe King Rogner can farm him a little bit, as it were. Yeah, I imagine this one will be quite good. Seems pretty strong, and cool ability. Up next we have the Musicians of Blaviken, and this is a bit of a meme card. It's 6 provisions for 4 strength. Deploy, you randomly gain a shield, immunity, resilience, or poison. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like the Gascon of this this expansion, kind of. Hopefully there won't be too many more meme cards. It's nice to have cards that will actually be played on some level. This is just like really bad, right? Because, I mean, shield, immunity, resilience, poison. Either it's like a 4 for 6, do nothing, detrimental effect with poison, or it's randomly shield, immunity, like this stuff that probably doesn't even matter. Resilience is the best option there, probably. But, yeah, I mean, still not even a playable card if this gave resilience every time, or half the time, or whatever. 25% of the time, this won't see play in any competitive deck, I don't think, not even Beast Skellige. Presumably it is a beast. Yeah, I don't know, bit of a meme card. Maybe it will be played in some meme decks with Gascon and whatnot, whatever. Don't think there's much more to say about that one. And the final card is Queen of the Night. This is a monster card, 8 provisions, 5 strength, and it does deploy on melee, gives an enemy unit bleeding for 4 turns, and if you deploy it on ranged, it purifies a unit instead. So a little bit of a flexible gold for monsters with the bleed sort of mechanic in there, and the purification mechanics. So either you can remove bleeding, you can remove vitality, you can remove shield. The purify effect is pretty nice, I think, and it might be quite strong depending on how many bleed and vitality and all the rest of it effects are being played. The bleeding, not sure that's going to be worth it really most of the time. Maximum you're getting a 9 for 8, and most of the time it probably won't be that, because you're going to get purified yourself, you're going to give them vitality value, or you're going to not have a long enough round to get the value from that. But I mean, again, it's one of these cards that will depend how prevalent bleeding is, how prevalent purify is, how prevalent all the rest of these other statuses are, and whether, yeah, it will depend on whether you can find the bleeding value or not a lot of the time, and whether the purify value is good enough. Maybe for 8 provisions, 5 purify is strong enough. I don't know if that will be the case. I would say probably not, but who knows. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose, on what the meta is like, what people tend to be playing, and that'll give us a good indication of whether this is good or not. Definitely a nice card design though, a little bit of flexibility dependent on which row you play it, which is always a lovely thing to see. Also giving you more ability to knock down unit strength with that bleeding for stuff like the Gale, which was a card we talked about last time. Pretty cool stuff. Really interested to see how good bleeding will actually be, whether it will be, very powerful. It could be getting you a lot more points than you really should be getting from however many provisions it is. It could also just be pretty terrible and not very workable when it's, needing such a long round and whatnot. It's kind of like an engine in that way, but yeah, might be quite good, might not be. Kind of going to have to wait and see on that one, I think. But yeah, those are my thoughts on 7 of the new cards. Mostly neutrals this time round. Let me know what you thought of them. do subscribe if you'd like more videos, guys, and I'll see you next time.